As you clearly can see from this map on League of Legends, there are indeed three lanes, and occasionally there are champions that push minions in multiple lanes at once because they care about balancing pressure across the map, and there's stuff happening, and look, there's Baron, and if you are here, and then there's Baron, and yeah, we get it, Kelsey, there are sidelines. I'm actually not going to talk about Genji and RNG today because I felt like the most interesting stuff was a lot of things that I had already sort of gone over with this series of Kelsey Covers Worlds, and I'd much rather talk about something a little bit different, and I'm sure you're maybe a bit tired of me saying the same exact shit over and over again. So I'm going to talk about a game that probably not as many people were hyped about, Invictus Gaming versus G-Rex. Specifically in Invictus Gaming versus G-Rex, I want to talk a little bit about how IG play sort of fast and loose with their back timers, and they use a few tricks that lets them only kind of back when they want to and not necessarily have to keep time with their opponent's backs nearly as much. Probably if you've been on this channel for more than just this video, you've heard me use the term resets to refer to backing in the context of League of Legends. And many of you may be already familiar with that term usage, but just in case you aren't, let's just explain that, of course, you're playing League of Legends with your team, you're shooting turrets, you're shooting champions, you're shooting dragons, you're doing whatever, you're accumulating gold, and you set the wave up to bounce, you go somewhere safe, you back up, because you're going to have to refresh your health, you're going to have to refresh your mana, you're going to have to spend your gold, you're going to have to get wards so that when you're pushing out more, your team can put down wards and keep control of areas. There are all sorts of reasons to reset, and I could cover a bunch of them in multiple videos if I wanted to, but just kind of the general gist. Obviously, when you reset, it expends some kind of tempo, some kind of control that you have that gives a window for the enemy team to kind of go back. So you have to be careful about when you're backing, why you're backing, what your objective is with backing, and what the state of the map is kind of going to be like when you come back. Crucially, a lot of times when you're playing mid lane or something of that nature, that means the back timers end up being super important early on in the game, and a lot of times you'll have junglers kind of walking mid, helping you push out the wave so that you can back before your enemy mid laner, because if you're backing and you're getting back on the map first, you get to push out that wave and you have a short window where you can do something with your team and you can snowball and open up the game pretty effectively that way. Invictus Gaming are obviously a team that cares a lot about what their mid laner is doing, and they like to make a lot of plays over Rookie getting the back first, which is why for me this G-Rex match was super interesting, and we're going to talk about kind of the first thing that we see. Let's go over the first instance. This, I feel like Rookie's back was delayed quite a bit, and IG, over a course of time, end up reacting pretty well to it. To get to the blue buff, Rookie first pushes out the wave, and he knows that going to get it, Candy will be able to push out then. He'll have an opportunity to back. That's all good, because he'll have blue buff. He'll be able to clear the wave pretty fast, pretty quickly, but then at the same time, after he does that, he can back, he can match the back, get some kind of itemization competitive with Candies. Now, what happens here is obviously he's not able to clear as effectively. He gets pretty low on mana, and at the same time, Bebe ends up walking to the lane to deter him a little bit from continuing the push and to pull the wave so that when Candy gets back to lane, he's not under tower. Rookie doesn't really have a good window where he can back for free anymore. Now, overall, I would say that probably Rookie not backing off of that didn't have that much of an impact overall. He probably wouldn't get that much out of a Longsword or a Ruby Crystal or a pair of boots or anything like that, as Candy would get off of Dark Seals just because of the scaling ratio of the Q for Candy and things of that nature. However, at the same time, Rookie chooses to stay in lane for quite a bit of time because he has pretty reasonable sustain from Corrupting Potion, and there's probably not a whole lot that he can do until he hits level 6 anyway. So from that nature, seeing how IG reacts to this and account for this and make up for Rookie being able to stay in lane is pretty interesting to look at, because G-Rex, honestly, they should go for the Infernal here. It's much better for them. But Ning here chooses to make his presence known. He's not necessarily looking for a gank so much as he's looking to help either reset mid or bot so that there is some control of the wave and the dragon or any kind of objective on the bottom side of the map isn't as free. It seems a little bit confusing, it seems like a waste of time, and probably overall he would be better off going mid and resetting the wave there than staying bot, I would think, especially since Syndra is a bit of a better target for Zac. But he doesn't necessarily know if Olaf will match, and that's definitely a trade that they're going to lose at this point. Now, this doesn't get super interesting until Candy decides to roam with Bebe off of the fact that they have so much push here. At this point, Zac, they can reason, has backed. He's gone to get something on the top side of the map. JackeyLove lost a trade, so GRX can move down there and get damage on the turret. IG's bottom lane have to back off completely and go ahead and reset on the map so that they can continue at this point. Rookie still able to stay competitive in lane. At this point, he's used all of his charges of Corrupting Potion, but IG react extremely well to the fact that they have to give up pressure on this side and the fact that GRX are expending tempo by allowing Rookie back here. Very importantly, he's getting, at this point, Mercury's treads, the longsword and the ruby crystal, and they're immediately going to trade for pressure on the top side off of the fact that Rookie gets this back first and Candy is going to want to match it. This is kind of still really standard stuff. Obviously, people making plays off of backs, that's cool, trades. Bot lane is mindful that mid lane can roam. Simple communication stuff, so why am I bringing up this game? Why do I care about this game? And that's when we get into how Invictus Gaming are using Zac in some of their mid to late game resets. Okay, here we are. We flash forward past all the fun stuff, like IG diving bot tower instead of going dragon again, resetting a bit late off of that, and GRX getting Infernal, the fact that they continue to trade for bot when GRX could easily get rid. We passed all of that stuff, you know, all of that stuff that we like to ignore when we talk about how good of a team IG is. But anyway, that is absolutely not the point. The point is that right now we have Varus backing in the mid lane. Okay, so that's cool. You know, that's something to know. You see that he has this Blade of the Rune King. Meanwhile, we have a Kai'Sa with Stormrazor and a recurve bow. So that's all good. That's all really interesting to observe, especially considering the fact that what's about to happen now is, first of all, a play on GRX's blue buff, but just more importantly, kind of how we see Zac being used to allow IG to get more optimal resets. Okay, as we said, we have IG denying the blue buff. GRX are choosing to kind of give this up to allow this to happen, in part because they're making sure they're prioritizing getting resets and itemization buffs faster than IG. I think that's fair, especially because they want to use the fact that top lane is pushing. IG probably have to catch this, and, well, they can transfer pressure mid off of that and make sure that they can get this one tier 1, which to them is probably way more familiar and way more useful than a Bluevis is going to be. So while they're setting this up, okay, now we know Stitch is back into lane. Kai'Sa realizes, okay, I'd really like to back and buy this pickaxe. You also have Ryze backing on the top side, which is very crucial as well, because you want some defense on this turret and on this push. But because they know they have Zac, they can do this. So what is so interesting about this? Probably it looks like Invictus Gaming are ending. Probably it looks like Invictus Gaming are setting up way too early for an engage. In fact, what I think is way more crucial is the fact that Ning knows his top laner and his AD carry are all the way down here, and there's no way that they can defend this turret. There's no way that they can get rid of these minions and the siege that you have GRX setting up here and make sure you don't have that turret. There's no way that you can maintain tempo, which is really the larger objective here, because you have GRX not only to able to push out this turret, but then from there they can catch the wave that Rookie has stacked up here, because this wave is also really important, right? Because this creates an opportunity for a trade, and Rookie can either stay on this wave or something else can happen, and IG can get something favorable from that. So let's see overall what happens here. You have what appears to be Zac ending still, right? He pops the passive being up is really huge, and Baolan comes in, they clear out the minions much faster, they delay them getting this turret. Rookie's allowed to group, and they continue to get a pick. Probably Rookie should have stayed bot on this turret, but now, very importantly, because G-Rex kind of overextended in this play, there is tempo from that side, and IG can sort of transfer over and look for this turret now. So you can begin to think of Zac as a pressure absorber, and this makes sense as to why a lot of people say that tanks, or typically losing matchups, their primary function is just to absorb pressure, right? Because if you have a bunch of people throwing things at a Sion, and a Sion can be extremely tanky, a Sion can have an extra shield, and then so much stuff that he can do that can delay them. Obviously, when you have situations with lane swaps, and maybe we can find an example of this in a future video or something like this, GP or Ornn are very useful because their ultimates can clear a wave very fast, so you don't want to kind of lane swap into those champions because very often they'll be able to negate an entire wave of tempo from you. And then in this situation, you have Zac appearing to be inting, right? I do think that it's very important that he does this because you have suddenly a complete change in the momentum of the game, making up for the fact that JackeyLove wanted that pickaxe just with that dive in there. This one is cool because it's a little bit of a reversal of circumstance. You have Candy looking for a back top because he pushed past River. Alright, so Candy is up here doing his own thing. He just pushed past River. That's usually a pretty good place to push the wave past when you're Syndra, because you don't want to be really a dedicated split pusher as someone can flank you, etc., etc. He hasn't really backed for like 4 minutes, so there's probably something that he can do, potentially complete his Zhonya's, something along those lines. So he is looking for back for more than just because he's uncertain, and more than just because he's done his duty and this is a good place to back. But because of the action that IG are taking in moving for this dragon here, off of the fact that they have a pretty reasonable idea of what Syndra can do, and if Syndra can join the fight, he understands that he needs to make up for that by making a trade and pushing this wave up on the top side of the map instead. This also allows, theoretically, for Bebe to look for vision on this side to begin clearing out these wards, because IG are expending their advantage to get the dragon at this point. They also have a pretty good idea, probably, that, you know, if Candy's looking for itemization, Rookie will be looking for itemization, and that off of a dragon is a pretty good place to reset. It's a pretty good place for IG to get back out on the map as well. IG, obviously, and Kind also know this, and this is kind of the issue where IG just expended tempo on that dragon. They know, because they saw Candy pushing up there, that GRX are probably in this Baron Pit area looking for vision here. So they can reasonably assume, because of the wards being laid out, they do have a blue trinket ward, so they could do a little bit of scouting if they wanted to, but they don't really need to. IG can assume that over here, you're going to have a lot of G-Rex, you're going to have wards being put down, potentially Candy is looking for a successful place to back. So this is where they are. Invictus Gaming don't really want them to back here, because if they back, they're in a cycle where they can continue to get to the point where, you know, Rookie pushes up this wave here, and then Candy just catches it, and they're stronger, they have matched the itemization, they continue to push back, etc. So IG are looking for a bit of an opening to maybe get a pick, to disrupt G-Rex's flow, if you will, and catch up from what they expended to get the dragon, to transfer some of that pressure on this side, so that these red wards on this top area become, you know, kind of IG blue wards instead. This is where IG used the Zac again. Obviously, this is a little bit of a risk because they could just be catching this wave here, and if they aren't, then they're in a position where the wave is bouncing for them and they're losing creeps off of this. But because they have a really good idea, and based on the information that I already gave, that there will be several GRX members over here, they know that this is a pretty good fight to pick off of the fact that Rookie just reset, off of the fact that they have Ryze having just reset, off of this type of advantage that they can build up. I sort of wanted to highlight the Zac usage and a couple of just observations of when IG were being a little bit more fast and loose of when they wanted to back or when they knew that they had an itemization advantage because they backed first. And to me, obviously, the most interesting one was the middle one because I thought that was kind of the most creative, where I was thinking a little bit, okay, why is he engaging there? And this particular use of the Zac passage occurred to me. But within the context of the game, I think that there were a few instances where IG were a bit smart with their resets, and it was just kind of easy to highlight those into a 16-minute or so video. Anyway, sorry if this video went out a little bit later and if maybe it feels a little bit more scattered, but I did want to focus on something a little bit different today, and that one moment sort of inspired me to see if I could come up with a good concept that went together around it. And thank you so much. Please follow me on Twitter or subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you guys tomorrow.